The knock came just as the sun was dropping behind the houses, painting the street in gold and shadow. I almost didn't answer. It had been one of those days where everything felt heavy, where even small favors seemed like too much to give. But that knock would change something in me forever. I had no idea that a broken gate, a quiet neighbor, and a few unexpected words would remind me how powerful kindness can be, and how it often comes back in ways you never see coming. Before we begin, take a second to support stories like this. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps stories of kindness reach more hearts. You're watching Your Channel Name. And now let me tell you what happened. I live in a small neighborhood in the Midwest, the kind where people wave but don't always stop to talk. We all have our routines, our jobs, our problems. I worked long hours as a handyman, fixing things for other people all day. By the time I got home, my back hurt, my hands were sore, and all I wanted was a quiet dinner and some rest. That evening, when I opened the door, my neighbor stood there with her hands folded nervously. Her name was Mrs. Eleanor Whitman. She was in her late 70s, thin, with soft gray hair pulled back into a simple bun. She always wore cardigans, even in the summer, and her eyes had a gentleness that made you slow down without realizing it. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said softly, "but my gate won't close anymore. I was wondering if you could take a look when you have time." I hesitated. My body was tired, and part of me wanted to say I'd check it another day. But something in her voice, maybe the way she said sorry like she truly meant it, made me nod. "Sure," I said. "Let me grab my tools." Her wooden gate leaned crooked on its hinges, scraping the ground when you tried to move it. It was old, like her house, worn down by years of weather and time. I could tell right away the hinge screws had loosened, and the post had shifted. As I worked, Mrs. Whitman stood a few feet away, watching quietly. She offered me a glass of lemonade, then apologized again for making me work so late. "You're not making me," I said with a small smile. "It's no trouble." But the truth was, it felt good to help someone without a receipt, without a deadline, just two neighbors and a simple problem. While I tightened screws and leveled the post, she began to talk. Not in a rushed way, but slowly, like she was opening a door she hadn't opened in a long time. She told me about her late husband, who had built the gate decades ago with his own hands. She told me how he used to say a good fence wasn't just about keeping things out, but about protecting what mattered inside. When I finished, the gate swung smoothly, closing with a soft, solid click. I wiped the sweat from my forehead and stepped back. "There you go," I said. "Good as new." Her eyes filled with something shiny, and she pressed her lips together, like she was holding back emotion. "Oh, thank you," she said. "You have no idea how much this means to me." I shrugged. "Don't worry about it." I started to pack up my tools when she gently touched my arm. "Please," she said, "at least let me give you something." I shook my head. "It's really okay." She smiled in a way that told me she wasn't going to let it go. "Just a moment," she said, turning toward her house. I expected her to come back with a few dollars, maybe insist I take it. But when she returned, she wasn't holding cash. She held a small envelope and an old photograph. She handed me the photo first. It showed a younger version of her and her husband, standing right by that same gate, smiling like the world was kind and simple. "He built that gate the year we moved in," she said. "He believed in helping neighbors, said it made a house feel like a home." Then she gave me the envelope. "You deserve a little extra reward," she said gently. I tried to protest, but she shook her head. "Please," she said, "this isn't payment, it's gratitude." Later that night, sitting at my kitchen table, I opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note and a folded piece of paper. The note thanked me again, not just for fixing the gate, but for listening, for taking time, for reminding her that kindness still lived next door. The folded paper was something else entirely. It was a check, not a small one. My hands actually trembled as I looked at the amount. It was more than I made in a month. For a moment I thought it had to be a mistake. I read it again. Then again. The next morning I walked straight back to her house. I knocked, heart pounding. When she opened the door, I held out the envelope. "This is too much," I said. "I can't accept this." She looked at me calmly, then invited me inside. Her living room was simple, filled with memories instead of furniture. Photos lined the walls, each one telling a quiet story. She gestured for me to sit. "My husband and I were never rich," she said, "but we saved, we lived simply. And when he passed, I promised myself I would use what we had left to do good, quietly." She looked at me with steady eyes. "I've watched you for years," she continued. "I see how you help people. I see how tired you come home. You fix things not just with your hands, but with your heart." I didn't know what to say. "That money," she said, "is for you to take a breath, to feel appreciated, to remember that kindness matters." Tears burned my eyes. I had spent so long giving that I forgot what it felt like to receive without guilt. "I don't need anything in return," she added. "Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" I asked. "When you can," she said, "pass it on." I accepted the envelope that day, not as payment, but as a responsibility. That money helped me pay off debts that had been weighing me down for years. It gave me room to rest, to breathe, to show up better for others. But more than that, it changed the way I looked at kindness. A broken gate became a bridge between two lives. A simple yes became a reminder that generosity doesn't always look the way we expect. Sometimes it's a check. Sometimes it's a story. Sometimes it's just being seen. Mrs. Whitman passed away quietly a year later. Her house sold and new people moved in. But every time I walk past that gate, still standing strong, I remember her words. "You deserve a little extra reward. And so does the world, when we choose kindness." If this story moved you, let it move your actions too. Hold the door, fix the gate, listen a little longer. You never know how far one small act of kindness can go, or how deeply it can change a life, including your own.